Everybody, welcome back to another Notes for Algebra 1. Today we're going to be talking about literal equations. Literal equations are very similar to normal equations. The only difference is that they have a lot more variables in it. So we're going to solve them the exact same way using our inverse properties and properties of equality and stuff like that. But we're just going to go ahead and not simplify them, basically. So let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to start with some pictures rather than letters and numbers and all that stuff, just so you guys can get the handle on how to do it. Okay? So, first one says solve for the triangle. So whenever it says solve for, that's the one you're trying to isolate. So we're trying to isolate the triangle here. And I always just circle it in the directions and on the equation as well. That way I can just keep it straight and make sure I'm solving for the right one. Because when you have multiple things, like pictures or variables, it can get kind of confusing kind of fast. So I like to do that little extra bit of organization. So here I've got a triangle. I'm trying to get it by itself. That's what it means to solve for it. So how am I get this triangle by itself? Well, I need to look at what's happening to the triangle. Well, look at it. The triangle minus a square gives me a star. So I'm subtracting a square from the triangle. Now, if I'm going to get this triangle by itself, I need to get rid of the square. So I do that by using the inverse operation. So instead of subtracting, I'm going to go ahead and add a square to both sides. Okay? So I add a square to both sides. Now, the minus a square and the plus a square will cancel each other out. So that leaves me with the triangle. And here on this side, I have a star plus a square. Now, I can't combine these. These are not the same shape. They're not the same variable. So I can't combine them. So the best I can do is leave it as is. So I get the triangle equals a star plus a square, whatever that means. Okay, so this is going to be the hardest thing you guys are going to have to struggle with for this, is that you're not going to be able to simplify to just get one number. Okay, you have to accept that sometimes you can't simplify it very far, and then you're just going to have to write what it means. So to get a triangle, it's just going to be the star plus the square. Okay? Let's go ahead and solve for the star this time. Okay, so I'm solving for the star, trying to get that by itself, so I look at what's happening to it. It's being divided by a triangle. So I got to do the inverse operation again. What's the inverse of dividing by a triangle? It is multiplying by a triangle. And I don't think I multiplied by a triangle on this side. Well, you're supposed to multiply by a triangle on both sides. So here, the multiplying by a triangle and dividing by a triangle cancel out, leaving with just a star. If I'm going to multiply by a triangle over here, a star, or like a square times a triangle, I can't actually do because I don't know what they mean. So I just have to leave it as it is. So a star equals a square times a triangle. Okay? Now I got two pictures, pretty pictures just for you guys. So I want you to try these on your own. When you come back, we'll have an answer, but just so you're clear, first one we are solving for the star. Okay, so for this one right here, and if there's no symbol, that actually means multiplication is happening here. Okay, second one I'm solving for the triangle, so right here. So go ahead and solve for those shapes, and when you come back after you pause the video, I'll have the answer for you. Okay? Okay. Alright, so hopefully you solve for the star here. So when you solve for the star, you know that the star equals the square being divided by a triangle. Okay, because this is being multiplied with the star, so you need to divide by a triangle on both sides. That's how you do it. Alright, here we have the triangle. It's being added with the square, so I subtract the square from both sides, so I get the, if I can find the shapes, that the triangle equals the star minus the square. Not too bad, right? So let's go ahead and try this with actual letters and numbers now. Okay? So, really quick, what is a literal equation? So a literal equation is an equation or a formula that contains multiple variables. And if we look at number one, here's an example. Multiple variables, actually no numbers going on, but they still want us to solve for A. Okay? I'll give you a second to finish writing this. Okay, so I'm trying to solve for A here. So, for A. So I'm going to circle that on my equation if I can. Alright, so that means I'm trying to get A by itself. Well, what's happening to my A? It's being added with a B. So I need to get rid of that plus B. How do I do that? Inverse operation. So I subtract b from both sides. Okay? That's going to leave the a by itself on this side, and the c minus b, I can't combine that because they're not like terms. So I'm left with a equals c minus b. That's just how I have to leave it, because if I combine them, that's not, like, I can't combine them. They're not like terms. They're not the same variable. Okay? So that's my answer. A equals c minus b. Okay? Let's try number 2. So here, I got to solve for a again. I'm going to circle it. Well, what's happening to my a right now? It's being multiplied with an x, and it's being added to a b. So I'm going to use SADMEG to undo this. SADMEG says to undo subtraction and addition first, so I want to get rid of this b first. How do I get rid of the b? I subtract b, and I do it for the other side. Okay? So these b's are going to cancel out, leaving me with ax. C minus b we already talked about. I had to leave like it is. Now what's happening to my a? I've got it being multiplied with an x. So I had to undo that by dividing by x. Now dividing by x on both sides. So I divide the entire side by x. The x's will cancel out. I have to divide the entire side over here by x. So that's going to leave me with a equals c minus b all over x. That entire side got divided by x. Not just the c, not just the b, the whole side. Okay, so that means my answer is a equals c minus b over x. Okay, now here's a real world situation. The formula for the surface area of a triangular prism is S equals HP plus 2B, where H is the height of the prism, P is the perimeter of the base, and B is the area of the base. Solve the equation for H. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite the equation just so I have it right here. So I am solving this equation for H. Well, what's happening to the H? It's being multiplied with P, and I'm adding 2B to it. Alright, so SADMEG says undo the plus 2B. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 2b from both sides. Now I have hb by itself, and that is equal to s minus 2b. Okay? Now, I'm still trying to get h by itself, so I need to undo this multiplying by p by dividing both sides by p. So the p's will cancel out on this side, so I'm left with h equals s minus 2b over p. And that's my final answer. Not too bad. It just, like, instead of getting it smaller, you're kind of building it up. Like, here's all the stuff you have to do just to get h. Okay? So that once I know what p, s, and b are, I can just plug them in and I get h really quick. That's why we do it. Okay? So the next 3 are now you try, or try on your own, or whatever you want to call it. Okay? So try on your own, if you can see. Alright, so I want you to go ahead and pause the video, do these 3 problems yourself. When you come back, I'll have answers for you. It shouldn't take you too long to do it because they're very similar to our examples. Okay? So go ahead and pause the video. When you come back, I'll have answers. Okay, welcome back. So here we have y plus x equals z, and I'm solving for the x. Okay? Did I put a little circle? Nope, didn't do anything for you. Okay, so when I get x by itself, I end up getting x equals z minus y. Number 5, I have yx plus z equals w. I'm solving for x again. When I do it, I get x equals w minus z over y. And finally, the formula shown to find a, the amount of money Colin has in a savings account, is a equals p plus prt. Colin wants to find t, so you're trying to get t by itself. Well, first you had to subtract p from both sides, then divide both sides by pr, because t is being multiplied by that whole thing, pr. Okay? So your final answer should be t equals a minus p over pr. Okay? Now, if you had any questions on any of this, please make sure you start and are ready to ask it next time in class, which will be Monday or Tuesday, whenever you're watching this, or if you're orange or white, rather, not when you're watching it. Also, just as a reminder, you do have a quiz on equations on Monday and Tuesday next week. Again, depending on if you're orange or white day. Equations is going to cover multi-step equations, whether you have one, none, or infinite solutions. It will have a little bit of translating on there, and I think I might throw a literal equation on as a bonus. So, go ahead and study that this weekend. Remember, if you have any questions, write them down. Happy to answer them before your quiz. But other than that, you guys have a good day. Have a great weekend, okay? I'll see you in class. Bye!